everyone, it's Clever Kobold here. So today we're doing something that's a bit of a theme on this channel. We are creating more Fakemon, but now we are smashing together Dungeons and Dragons and Pokemon together and seeing what happens. It's chaotic, mildly cursed, and honestly a lot of fun. So in this episode, we are taking one of D&D's most iconic monsters of all times, the Beholder, and giving it a Pokemon makeover. Yep, the giant, paranoid, floating eyeball of doom as a cute collectible creature. Because, well, why not? I love both of these worlds for completely different reasons. D&D is full of horrifying monsters, deep lore, and nightmares that keep adventurers up at night. Pokemon, on the other hand, is cute, colorful little guys that you just want to hug, even the creepy ones. So combining the two scratches a very particular creative itch, taking something that's designed to terrify and twisting it into something that you'd actually want on your team. It's like therapy for artists, but this time with more eyeballs. Let's talk about the design itself. The Beholder in D&D is basically a floating head with one giant central eye, a huge toothy grin, and 11 eye stalks, each one firing a different death ray. It's an iconic shape, but that many moving parts is just way too much for a Pokemon. So I decided to bring the number down to 7 eye stalks, lose the giant toothy grin. So the design itself is still uneven, still unsettling, but it's a lot easier to read visually and far more manageable in a game setting. Then there's the main eye. Easily the most recognizable part of the creature. I want to keep it the focal point, but make it feel more stylized and less monstrous. So I turned it into a design that mimics a dartboard. Rings of color radiating out from the pupil. It gives it this hypnotic, psychic quality that I feel fits the Pokemon universe beautifully. Now, Beholders are usually purple, grey, and cold tones, which gives them this classic alien horror feel. So I kept with the purple, but I also experimented with warmer colors like red, oranges, and golds to keep something magical happened. Especially with the eye, it suddenly became, well, cute. At least to me. Still weird, but more approachable. Like a creature that would live in an old ruin. And you'd turn up and you're like, that's a bit odd, but kind of adorable. And my favorite part is I gave it a little tail because one giant floating eyeball, what would it be without that creepy little tail? So a stubby little tail, well, it's instantly 40% more lovable. It made the whole design feel balanced, rounder, almost like a balloon that's trying to look intimidating but keeps drifting off in the wrong direction. So here's how I imagine the Beholder's Pokédex, with the Pokédex entry being each of the Beholder's eyes project a different psychic wavelength. When threatened, it fires fire beams that distort space itself. It is a psychic dark type, being just under 5 foot and weighs 189 pounds. It has the ability levitate to ensure it's got a getaway from wild Pokemon, and it has omnifocus, so it prevents its accuracy from dropping and boosts its critical hit rate. So it can always see where it is going to see, which makes sense with so many eyes focusing on its target. So whilst I was designing the Beholder, now something felt a little off. Pokemon designs usually have some kind of evolutionary context, something that explains how it grows into what it becomes. And the Beholder on its own was just too much. A Beholder usually comes into existence because another Beholder thought of a Beholder, or other parts of the lore that other people have come up with, which I will not go into today. But in Pokemon sense, I figured that what if the Pokemon had another form? A form before it became a Beholder? something smaller, something more basic, curious, maybe a little eerie. That's when I came up with Glooke, the baby form of the beholder Pokemon. Glooke name comes from look, if you can't guess. That's literally all it does. It looks at things. Design-wise, I wanted something incredibly simple. Just a floating sphere with one big central eye, and it has really faint, stabilizing fins that kind of float around it. It's inspired by the Scrying. It's inspired by the Scrying. The Scrying. It's inspired by the Scrying Eyes, and I know I'm pronouncing Scrying wrong. It's inspired by the Scrying Eyes from Baldur's Gate, those creepy floating orbs that hover around areas spying on you for the absolute. They're fragile, annoying, and everywhere. I can totally imagine Glooke floating around ancient ruins, forests, maybe even cities, quietly observing everything. Too shy or too nervous to interact with people? It's the kind of Pokemon you'd spot in the background before realizing it's been watching you the whole time. To make it feel more Pokemon-like, I kept the eye large and expressive, gave the body a soft glow, and even added the tiniest little spots around it to make it feel more alive. It's weirdly cute and the kind of Pokemon that's curious, timid, and unsettling at the same time. With Glooke's Pokédex, Glooke drifts quietly through the air, observing everything it sees. It grows more powerful by observing the emotions of others. It is just a simple psychic type. It is just under a foot tall and weighs just 10 pounds. It has got the ability levitate and the hidden ability keen eye to prevent Pokemon from lowering its accuracy and ensuring that it can get a clean getaway from wild Pokemon. It is just the smaller version of the Beholder. It's small, it's eerie, and is probably floating above your shoulder right now. In terms of evolution, I imagine Glooke evolves when it has seen enough of the world. Maybe it needs a certain number of Pokemon battles, or it needs to be your companion as you wander through the world for a certain number of steps, until it becomes so self-aware enough to evolve into the Beholder. Once it does evolve into the Beholder Pokemon, it becomes more confident and absolutely convinced it's the smartest creature alive. So it basically becomes a teenager. And that's where I turned the D&D's most terrifying monster into something that I could absolutely live with in a Pokemon world. I generally loved working on this design. It's balancing the creepy and cute, something that I've done before, and it's always a fun challenge. There's something hilarious about giving the Beholder a Pokemon entry. So, what do you think? Would you catch a Glooke and its evolved form? Would you leave them floating in a dungeon where they belong? Comment below. What D&D monster would you like to see turned into a Pokemon next? Or would you like to see a Pokemon turned into a D&D monster instead? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to join me next time on D20 Pokédex, where we keep blurring the lines between Dungeons & Dragons and Pokemon design. Thanks for watching, Kobolds, and remember, keep your eyes open because they might just be watching back.